All right, let's keep things on the international scale here. We'll talk a little bit about some European football. Let's start with the tough stuff to talk about before we get into the good stuff that we want to talk about. We have to talk about more injuries. Unfortunately, let's chat about Leah Williamson, who announced that she suffered a ruptured ACL and will miss the World Cup because of this devastating injury and the remainder of Arsenal season. Massive blow to the player individually, but I would anticipate to England as well. This is one of their captains, someone who is a leader for Arsenal and Lionesses. And the injury bug is it's big one right now. I feel like there's a lot of programs, whether they're at the national team level or club level, that are really kind of getting bit right now.
Yeah.
And I think in the timing in which it happened, it was during a Women's Super League game against uh, Manchester United, and I think it happened very, very early in the game, probably in the opening 15 minutes. And you kind of hope, like, when a player walks off with a little bit of help on the road, that maybe it's not as bad as it could seem.
Yeah.
I think
Everyone was holding their breath watching.
yeah, but there was a collective like pause where it's like, what does this mean? And I think maybe that was a similar reaction with when Weber went down,
Yeah.
right? Someone who was able to walk off and like, oh, like maybe it won't be as bad. And then you get the actual diagnosis and you're like, geez, like here's another one.
So devastating. Yeah, for Williamson, it's, I mean, so many layers of it, right? The defender going down, or she's only like 26 years old, and having to kind of watch her go down in agony and in pain, and then walk off, and then a couple days later, hearing the results that it is confirmed, it is ACL. This is. The Euro 2022 player of the tournament was Leah Williamson, captain for England, huge part of the Arsenal team that's making a run in Champions League at this point. And so many devastating things that have happened. And when you look at it on the global scale, there has been so many ACL injuries. And then even on a more local level, you look just at Arsenal and all of the players that have suffered ACLs there, with Beth Mead, Vivian Miedema, and now Leah Williamson. That's 3 of their star players, and yet Arsenal is still going on and continuing to play and continuing to win. It is just devastating to hear all of this news and everything that's happening. There's been also a lot of people in our chat right now saying like, hey, like they have to study this, they have to do that. There have been so many studies out about ACLs, and there's actually been a lot of reports that have come out most recently, the last week or so, about why it's happening to more women than it is men, prevention of it, all these different things. But there still needs to be so much more research to be done about how to prevent this, what needs to happen. And there has already been a lot of research, but the fact, when you look at the numbers for this year and how many influential women's footballers have suffered ACL injuries, it is heartbreaking, Sandra. It is heartbreaking.
It's tough. I think when any of us like see something like this in a player's career, so close to some of the biggest matches of their life, because yes, of course, I think a lot of people think about the World Cup that's just a couple of months away at this point. But this is a player with Arsenal, a club that has, like I said, been bit by that injury bug. You mentioned Miedema, you mentioned, Beth Mead, now Williamson. I mean, they just lost Kim Little. It's not necessarily ACL related, but it's just like, the list, not only does the list get longer, but it gets longer with like more prolific players who mean so much to the club. And it's just ahead of, so it's like not just the World Cup at this point, but it's literally it was just days before their first leg of the Women's Champions League. And in this announcement, in this update that Williamson provided, she references those two things in her life specifically, and how, she's devastated to miss out on those things, but is going to, try to focus on the good things in front of her and her recovery. But I'm with you. I mean, there have been studies, I think you and I were chatting when we were content planning, like the number is well over 50 at this point for professional, for women who are playing at high levels. Let's just say, even I'm including like collegiately at this point. So playing at various high levels of the game, who are suffering ACLs at this like ridiculous rate, just stemming into last year, the number's well over 50. And it just sort of feels, in light of that, there has been a lot of research. I feel like you and I have read some things, and we've been pitched some things, and I just sort of feel like it's okay. Research is great. Now, where do we like move this into some action? Where
And
do we
there's like
move this
pet
into?
prevention
Yes,
programs that you can do. I mean, even I think when I was as young as like 11 or 12 years old, like playing U12 soccer, we started doing like pet prevention ACL like training as part of our warm-ups. That was like part of the program. But like how accurate are those? Like, are we developing them year
yeah,
after year because the medicine is changing and um the training and the strength and conditioning is changing for these athletes every single year, no matter what club they're going to. So like how is can there be like a better understanding of why it's happening now, like whether it's cleats, right? Have they
yeah,
changed the makeup of the boots that these players are wearing, the turf, the anything, right? Like there's
yeah,
so many different factors that go into it and why it's happening. And I think one of the most devastating parts of it is that how long the recovery is, right? We're talking 6 to 9 to 12 months of a recovery for a player to get back to full strength. And also how it changes the makeup of your body because your
yeah.
body's not the same anymore. You're now overcompensating and the recovery process is so long. And is your knee potentially weaker than it was before? There's so many factors that go into it, which is what makes it so devastating.
Yeah. I think when you see players go through this long journey and you sort of eventually get to the point where they're in their return to play protocols, I think your ears perk up, your eyes get a little bit brighter. And maybe I'm alluding a little bit to the fact that we're going to potentially see the return of a very prolific player from an ACL injury in Alexia Putellas.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Women's Champions League, because in case you didn't know, you can watch all of the remaining knockout rounds and the UWCL final on CBS Sports Golazo Network. So make sure you tune on in to Pluto TV, Paramount Plus, CBSSports.com, wherever you prefer to watch your games. You can watch them in any of these areas. But Barcelona going to host the second leg of the semifinal against Chelsea. Arsenal going to host the second leg against Wolfsburg. Barcelona carrying a very narrow 1-goal aggregate over the Blues into Camp Nou for this second leg. Arsenal with a thriller. A come from behind
Mhm.
2-2 draw. So they're most of their level. They're basically level at aggregate going in to London. But not only that, Arsenal is going to have 50,000 people behind them, hopefully, in this semifinal. Listen, they could use it. Every little bit's going to help in this semifinal for them.
Yeah, massive, massive to see that game. That game was insane between Wolfsburg
Yeah.
and Arsenal. Wolfsburg goes up 2 goals in the first 25 minutes. It's 2-0, and then by the second half, they end up getting Arsenal ends up getting the equalizer by the 69th minute. Such an exciting game, and this, as we just talked about, this is just days after Williamson says that she's out and she can no longer be playing. But you're exactly right. They go into the second leg at the Emirates Stadium. Over 50,000 tickets sold. Incredible. Who says no one's watching women's sports? Because they're showing up, they're going. And you can watch this game, as Sandra mentioned, on CBS Sports Golazo Network, the free 24/7 soccer streaming channel and network. Be sure to tune in and watch it because this is going to be just massive. I mean, the first leg for this was insane. They play again Monday, May 1st in the afternoon. It's just before 1 o'clock, I believe 12:45 Eastern is when that kicks off on Monday. But a lot of really fun action to happen there. And then we've also got Chelsea Barcelona, Sandra. This game,
Yeah.
Barcelona getting the 1-0 win over Chelsea in the first leg of this one. They play their second leg tomorrow. afternoon again. It's on CBS Sports Golazo Network.
Should we have some fun with it? Should we make
Yeah.
some picks? Should we have like a Champions League final kind of wish list? Look, I'm not even going to act like I wasn't excited about this. I think once the semifinals were set, I was like, oh my goodness, like there's absolutely a path here for an all, women's Super League, Champions League final, except the Blues have to get through Barcelona. And I don't know
I know
if that's going to happen. Barcelona is in ridiculous form. This era, this moment of time for this franchise, for this team, is we're going to look back on this and just remember how remarkable it was. I mean, even in this campaign, racking up wins in the league on like a 60-something, game-winning type of record in La Liga for them. And it just, I think in that game against Chelsea, that first leg, you look at the scoreline and you're like, oh, this is going to be tough for Barcelona. And that's parts of that are true. But the other parts of that for me just showed how good they are at tackling anything that is in front of them. So while maybe there was some good defensive shape for Chelsea during that first leg and moments where they were pressing Barcelona and kind of forcing them into some high pressure situations, Barcelona's ability to just sort of play out of those things and still have the ability to find the back of the net when it matters. I think
in the opening 5 minutes
says even more, right? It just
right.
says even more about this team.
Yeah.
So
it was the opening 5 minutes. Caroline Graham-Hampson finds the back of the net for Barcelona, and then that was it. It was on lock for the rest of the game. That's what I mean. Like Chelsea, I'm a little nervous.
And this was at Stamford Bridge. This was Barcelona away. So now they're going, back to Camp Nou, and I'm sure they're going to have incredible scenes, behind them in terms of the environment that it will come to life on that second leg. But Emma Hayes and Chelsea, they have been, it feels like, chasing a Champions League for a very long time. And to go through Barcelona is a very tall order. And it's a little bit of a do or die scenario.
And do it away, right, at Camp Nou. I think they can do it, though.
Really?
I'm in for it. Right. I think we're going to get Chelsea. Yeah, but but aggregate, like they're down 1-0 at this point, and now they go away. Ooh. Yeah. It's going to have to be like a 2-1 penalty kick situation.
Wow, you want high drama in this one. I'm here for it.
Of course I want the high drama. Yes.
I'm here for it. I don't know if it'll be, I don't know if it'll be, if it'll go down to the high drama like that. I mean, we saw Chelsea go to penalties with Lyon and they came out on top. They were able to sort of sustain that pressure. Yep. But I just think Barcelona is such a machine at this point in their existence that they'll be, able to go ahead and come out on top. I think looking the other way, Arsenal's a great team. And I think the fact we're talking about scenarios in which we're looking at teams coming out of this as the victors or kind of winning the moral victories in some of these things. If we're looking at Gunners and all that they've lost along the way, these prolific players, and yet they have the resiliency to get in there and get out with these results or get out with victories. They're a good team even without these key players. I think we are looking at a very special moment in time in the career of somebody like a Katie McCabe. I think this is going to be a player that they continue to rely upon in the second leg. If you're looking at the national team level, Ireland will rely on her during the World Cup. I think there's enough here to deliver what could be considered an upset. And I think you're only going to consider that an upset because lots of folks are going to look at the roster and who they have lost along the way. But Arsenal, Wolfsburg, no strangers to these scenarios, no strangers to playing each other in these type of knockout game scenarios. I think it's going to deliver. I think if there's a game that's going to deliver even more, another scene of high drama, I think it's going to be this second leg semifinal. But I think maybe we'll see Barcelona and Arsenal in the championship final. I wouldn't hate it.
I see that, especially because Alexia Putellas is set to make her return, potentially going to make her return, right? Potentially going to make her return. And I think that'll be a game changer too if we see.
But it's like they're so good too. It's like similar Arsenal. It's like they've been fine without her. I mean, I feel like Bonmati is playing out of her mind right now. So it's just kind of like she's going to return, and that's going to maybe be a little bit of an X factor, but they've been fine without her. So it's
it's a lot. There's a lot on the line, a lot happening. Second leg for Barcelona-Chelsea tomorrow, Thursday, and then Monday is Wolfsburg-Arsenal, and then the final, June 3rd. Yeah,
Keep
crazy.
an eye on it. We've got all kinds of good stuff for you on CBS Sports Golazo Network. You get access to pregame, halftime shows, postgame show. They've got all kinds of analysis for you during the match. So make sure you tune in. I know we will be tuned in. We'll obviously talk about the results with you along the way, but that is it for us today at Attacking Third.